If exactly 4,000 of the most advanced anti-aircraft missiles in history were fired at a single plane, how many would you expect to hit? Logic tells you at least a few would find their mark. But the machine we are talking about today defied logic. It evaded all 4,000 of those missiles using the exact same method, simply by outrunning them. It was a violation of physics that proved how a plane could fly faster than missiles. Welcome back to SkyTech. Today we are diving into the engineering madness of the SR-71 Blackbird, the legend built from enemy metal, capable of healing itself, and still unsurpassed 60 years later. Imagine this. You are at the height of the Cold War. You are a Soviet radar operator staring at your screen. Suddenly a blip appears. It's moving at 3 times the speed of sound. You alert your commander, and a surface-to-air missile is launched. You watch the missile close in on the target, but then something impossible happens. The target doesn't turn. It doesn't drop flares. It just accelerates. Even the missile, traveling at twice the speed of sound, is left behind. The target vanishes into the darkness of the upper atmosphere, leaving behind only a trail of blue fire. What you just saw wasn't a UFO. It was the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, created at the request of the CIA after they realized secret U-2 flights were now vulnerable to Soviet missiles. It made its first flight in 1964, yet even today it looks like it was designed in the future. So how did engineers working with slide rules and pencils in the 1960s build a plane faster than missiles? When you want to build a plane that flies at Mach 3.2, you face a massive problem: heat. At these speeds, the friction between the air and the aircraft's fuselage pushes the surface temperature over 300 degrees Celsius. If you built this plane out of aluminum like a standard passenger jet, it would literally melt and turn into a puddle of liquid metal. The only solution was titanium. But here is the catch, and one of the greatest ironies in history. In the 1960s, the United States didn't have enough titanium to support this massive project. So, who did? Their biggest enemy, the Soviet Union. To build a spy plane to surveil the Soviets, the CIA set up shell companies around the world and secretly bought the titanium from the Soviets themselves. So, when an SR-71 was flying over Moscow, it was actually made of Russian metal. Now, if you saw an SR-71 on the tarmac before a flight, you'd probably think it was broken. Because it was constantly leaking fuel, dripping, pooling, there was fuel everywhere. Your first reflex would be to call the maintenance crew. But this wasn't a flaw. It was exactly by design. Due to the heat generated while flying at Mach 3, the entire fuselage of the SR-71 would expand by several inches. If the fuel tanks were sealed completely tight on the ground, the plane would literally explode when it heated up and expanded in the air. That's why engineers left gaps between the panels. While on the ground, the plane would bleed. But once the fuselage reached 300 degrees, the metal expanded, the gaps closed, and the tanks became perfectly sealed. In other words, this plane healed itself only when flying at 3 times the speed of sound. And what about the fuel? The SR-71 couldn't use ordinary fuel. They developed a fuel so stable, called JP7, that if you threw a lit match into it, the match would just go out. The J58 engine, developed by Pratt & Whitney, was a whole different level of madness. Look at those famous black cones at the front of the engines, the inlet spikes. As the plane accelerated, these spikes would retract into the engine, slowing down the incoming air. At Mach 3.2, the engine practically transformed into a giant ramjet. This meant that the faster the SR-71 went, the more efficient its engines became. It was like a predator getting stronger the faster it ran. The pilots controlling this massive power had to wear the exact same full-pressure suits as astronauts, because at 80,000 feet, if cabin pressure was lost, their blood could start boiling in their veins. They weren't just flying, they were operating a spacecraft at the edge of the atmosphere. So, how many of these legends existed? A total of only 32 SR-71s were ever built. And interestingly enough, while none of those famous 4,000 missiles ever managed to hit them, 12 were lost in various accidents. The enemy couldn't take it down, but flying at the absolute limits of physics was a deadly risk on its own. The remaining 20 planes, after dominating the skies for decades, were officially retired in 1998 due to advancing satellite technologies and massive maintenance costs. Today, those 20 surviving legends are quietly on display in various aviation museums across America. Even today, the SR-71 holds the record for the world's fastest air-breathing manned aircraft. No one has officially surpassed it, or have they? Lately, rumors have